My name is Jeff Grady, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the text split, the text before, the text after function, and how you can use them to split up first, middle, and last names. We've seen a lot of videos about how you can use the text split function to separate people's first and last names, but what if people have middle names? Sure, you can use the text split function to split them up if all of them have middle names, or you can use it if none of them have middle names. But what if some of them have middle names and others don't? How do you do it in that situation? I'm going to talk about that here. So in this case, for example, let's say we have all of our presidents listed here alphabetically, or sequentially, I'm sorry. I can use the text split function. I'll choose text split. I click on the first president's name here. The column delimiter is the space character. There is no row delimiter, so I'll just use a default for everything else here. I just hit a right parenthesis, and then it actually doesn't work for George Washington. But then as I drag down here, it works for all of the presidents that have middle names. So that really doesn't do me a lot of good. But what I can do is I can use a combination of text before and text after along with the text split to do it. Now it's a little bit involved in terms of its complexity, but let's take a look at that. So here on this tab I've actually done that, and this is the text split function that I used to grab the first, last, and middle name. So really what I'm doing here is I'm examining the name, and if the name has two spaces in it, then I'm going to take an appropriate action. And if it doesn't have two spaces in it, then I'm going to take another. So in the case of George Washington, he only has one space in his name, because he doesn't have a middle name. The people with middle names have two spaces. So we're basically going to just take and use the text split for him, and we'll do a text before, put it here, and combine it with the null character and as well as the text after to get his last name. And in the situation where you have somebody with two spaces, then it's going to behave totally different. So in that case, it's going to do the text split as shown in the previous spreadsheet, where I split the text into three separate columns. So that's the key, is basically looking at the length, at the number of spaces in the text string. And the way I do that is I calculate the length of the text string, and then I substitute the spaces in the text string with nothing, and then I calculate the resulting length of that. That gives me the number of spaces in it. It's a little bit tricky, but basically if you're left with one, then you have one space. If you're left with two, then if you're left with one, then you have a first and last name. If you're left with two, then you have a first, middle, and last name.